Welcome back, chat, to another thrilling edition of Final Fantasy Tactics Retro-Spective here on Geek Gab. How are you doing tonight? See 5 people waiting in chat. Oh! Welcome back, chat. We have Bradford Walker. Good to see you, Bradford. I'm sure more people will filter in. We got somewhat of a reduced panel tonight, but I think this panel proves that quantity does not necessarily equal quality, because we got some quality guest hosts tonight. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves for the chat?
I am Martel. Happy to be here as always.
And good evening, folks. This is the Pulp Archivist.
Great to have both of you gentlemen back. I think if last night is any indication, we're going to have a vigorous and sparkling discourse. In the meantime, like I was telling my co-hosts, I did the professional gamer thing, the professional game streamer thing, and I did some grinding off the air, and behold the fruits of my labors. This weirdo. Check him out. His goggles and like a massive turtleneck. I see you're speechless. Or hear you're speechless.
Stream's on a bit of a delay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't do that yet. 1 second. Let me fix that for my co-host in Discord. Gotta admit, I was a bit rushed. Stream time caught me a bit off guard, but we're catching up. Although Discord is not. Got those 2 little squares just running laps. Okay. And for some reason there's no picture. Hold on, let me refresh that. Oh, there it is. That's right, we got ourselves a mime who can mimic things. Still speechless. Well.
Huh. Maverick.
Yeah, he's
a mime. Okay.
Yeah, he's been with. He was a ninja.
Class.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just wondering what a mime does in the context of this game.
I'm not exactly sure. I've never had one before because to get a mime, I had to go and raise him to level 8 Squire, level 8 Chemist, and level 4 in Geomancer, Summoner, and Lancer. I think that was all the requirements, and I've never done that before. But apparently, mimes are just devastatingly effective. They're like the key to a lot of ultimate formation builds among aficionados of this game. And in particular, yeah, I know there's a combination where you field a formation of like just calculators and mimes, and you can pretty much hit the whole spread of variables.
So what does a mime do?
Whatever the guy in front of him does.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he copies the last attack, yeah.
So you do Ultima.
Oh my.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this PA. Oh, also, I do apologize to the panelists and the chat, because I did do one little side thing that unlocked another cutscene, and it just showed Mustadio and his dad examining like some big orrery looking device, like a map of the solar system, and Reinhardt's Zodiac Stone resonated with it, but they figured it's not quite the right one to get the thing working. So now we're going to go to the right place to do that. And perhaps we can have a mime battle along the way. Oh, I see Edo Higuma in chat who says, "Huzzah!" Hopefully I'll be worthy of that cheer. Well, let's go. I want to make sure my formation is off of grinding mode. And like all the right ability set. I've almost totally maxed out Orlando.
You know, I miss back when things were beautiful as well as functional.
Amen.
Actually, anyone here ever read The High Crusade by Poul Anderson?
Not yet, although I'm aware of it.
Okay.
It's on my reading. It's on my reading list. I do have the. I do have it in physical copy. I just inattention ooh shiny with my reading list lately.
I know that feeling. I miss reading for fun.
Incidentally, I found out that
Hopefully I'll have some fun.
yeah, it's to be hoped. I did find out that Agrius works surprisingly well as a chemist.
Interesting. Stats or
Yeah.
any reason in particular?
Well, her Holy Sword ability doesn't seem to lose any effectiveness as long as I have the right equipment on her. And item comes in super useful. It's just way faster than white magic.
Interesting.
Yeah, and because I was able to give her equipped sword as an ability, she can use the most powerful commercial grade sword in the game right now. And the power sleeve gives her some decent damage bonuses, so yeah, she's good to go. And then the mime cannot.
My point about the
Yeah, go ahead.
the High Crusade, though. Just a brief digression.
No, sure.
Without getting any spoilers for anyone in chat who doesn't know about it, the High Crusade by Poul Anderson, same guy who did 3 Hearts and 3 Lions, which are both excellent books. I would highly recommend reading them. All the more so because, along with Michael Moorcock's Eternal Champions, they basically formed the basis of the Law and Chaos alignments that we see in D&D. But the High Crusade is about an alien starship lands in an English village that's preparing to join King Richard the Lionheart, I believe, on the Crusades. And does the standard show of force with laser guns. The English respond by storming the ship, which takes the aliens completely off guard. And they take the ship. That's the first 10 pages, so I'm not spoiling anything. And then they launch a crusade against the alien empire that sent a ship. Because why wouldn't you? There is, however, a part where the guy recording the accounts is examining the alien technology and he's saying, while the aliens have excelled in the technical arts, their craftsmanship displays a curious lack of creativity. Their chairs, while functional, have no ornamentation, and their charts, while exceedingly of fine quality, have none of the dragons or other monsters to fill in the margins that you would see on our maps. And that just kind of got me thinking about the modern era where everything is very functional. And material-wise, it's all rather shoddy, but if we wanted to, we could certainly make things well. We just don't have any artistry to it.
Have you ever seen my post on fast food nationalism from a few years ago?
I think I did, but refresh my memory.
Okay, all I have to do to refresh it is just look out your window or pull up your map software of choice and just look at a McDonald's or Burger King or Dairy Queen or any fast food place built in like the last 8 years, and they are just all brutalist shoeboxes. Subway is the worst offender. They seriously just make gray rectangles now. Whereas...
Okay, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, whereas previously, compare that to like an original McDonald's or even like the McDonald's up through the 80s that had the attached playgrounds.
Yes, I remember those quite well. Very fondly.
Where you had the roof and the slanted roofs, and or like the old red Pizza Huts.
Yeah.
Sit down ones.
Yeah, exactly. Like all those Pizza Huts
Or the 50s style diners.
Yeah, right. I don't know about you guys, but in my location, every old Pizza Hut is now like a predatory payday loan place.
Sounds about right.
And like all the actual Pizza Huts are just like a hole in the wall in like a strip mall with maybe one table in there. And it's all carry out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not to glorify like consumerism or fast food, but it's just to chart the decline, right? So we had family-run 50s diners that had style, right? Maybe they looked like an old train car or something, and then we had like the drive-ins with the car hops. At least they had style. And that gave way to McDonald's. And yeah, now we just have like report to Cube 3674 for daily food ration. And there are people who are just fine with this. Like I've actually had people reply with, "Oh, well it helps avoid like the pooling of rainwater, and it's like more hydrodynamic or something."
No, they like it. They're just grasping at justifications.
If that was really the issue, we could find a way to make it look good and avoid the pooling of rainwater or whatever.
Good point.
Like if we were serious about beauty, we would find a way. It's the sort of thing we used to do all the time.
Wow, these guys are pretty tough. Oddly enough, out of the Hydras and the mech, it's the Pelicans that are giving me the most trouble.
Huh.
Yeah, who'd have thought? Anyway.
How about that?
Yeah. Time to go to work.
Yeah, you can judge a culture by its aesthetics. Classical Greece and Rome, but Greece and Rome as they went into a decline. Arab culture, China, Japan, heck, Soviet art. That's an aesthetic. You can tell what they're all about. And the fact that they stopped making that Soviet realist art towards the end shows, well, that all of them were, that they had run its course, that there was no vital energy left.
Just thinking cars. I mean, okay. 30s cars had a certain aesthetic to it. 50s cars had a certain aesthetic to it. 80s cars were boxes.
Yeah. And really, cars they've stopped. Like, there has been no change in cars since, what, the 90s?
It's pretty much the, people don't like these boxes, so we're all going to curve them in roughly the same, curve our boxes in roughly the same shape.
Yep.
Regulations are a big reason for that, though.
And true, but even aesthetically, like, we don't have fins anymore. Spoilers. I mean, aesthetics have essentially halted since the 90s. The minivan of yesteryear looks like the minivan of this year.
I hate to keep harping on it, but agricultural ground zero.
Yeah, consolidation is not a good thing, especially for creatives.
Yeah. A shame, too. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Time to rebuild. I love that he can just yell at dead people and make them wake up. Oh no. Okay. So that's interesting. So the mime brought back the Death Pelican.
What?
I'm as shocked as you.
That doesn't sound like a good thing.
It was right in front of it where I was facing. Yeah, that's the drawback of the mine.
Well, we're learning.
You really have to watch your positioning with it.
Okay. Well, no wonder they save it till so late in the game.
The only curve it is.
Well, he's gonna get his. He'll pay the price for your treason. There we go. Thank you, Burb. You've earned a respite. Feather bomb. Okay, this is gonna be interesting.
Good bird.
I am disappointed. Oh wow, chat has been blowing up while I've been concentrating on the game. Oh, and tell you what, I need to keep concentrating on the game.
Oh my.
Yeah. Can somebody take over chat watch, if you please?
Okay, John Dacre sent us a recommendation. Make us say it all last week. Ryokai, that's...
Okay, what? What about?
Y'all have to admit the Crown Victoria was a beautiful car.
Yeah, to
Oh yeah,
crash.
Crown Vic was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to crash. That was a lot. That's a lot of fun. Your tax dollars at work sent me to driving school, which was more of a wrecking school. So it was fun to learn to use the Crown Vic as a weapon, and I love the Crown Vic for ramming, sideswiping, knocking cars off the road. It's just lovely car for them to do it because it's so rugged, and it's a good one for them to maintain too.
There's a reason it was the cop car of choice.
Yep.
Comes standard with a V8, doesn't it? Or am I wrong? If anyone in chat knows.
I'm not too knowledgeable about the to Mr. Walker's points, tourism loses its appeal as places start looking the same, which, yeah, I'd agree with that. Not really much point in going places if there's nothing else there.
True.
And these days you run into a lot of people, well, with Europe saying stuff like, I would love to go there sometime, but not the way things are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one difference, 10 years, Mix.
Yep. Yeah. It's a shame. But, yeah. Tourism also loses its appeal when you stand a good chance of getting knifed in. Although I was talking to a Japanese person a few weeks ago, and they're talking about how they went to visit one of the cities in the general Kyoto area. And they're talking about how, like, 3 streets over from the main thoroughfare where all the tourists go is Yakuza territory. So they took a couple of turns, looked around, and realized that everyone around them had, like, shaved heads, tattoos everywhere.
That does make sense.
Rather nervous-making, I should imagine.
Yeah. I mean, the Yakuza started out as merchants and gamblers, so... yeah, I can see that.
I thought they started out as Ronin.
Well, they traditionally have, like, 3 different, I don't know,
Not saying
classes.
you're wrong.
Well, I'm sure Ronin probably joined them. I hadn't heard that myself, but it's like basically members of Japanese society who are low enough to be able to deal with the Dutch, with the gaijin. So like artists, gamblers, and merchants were kind of the big 3.
That makes sense.
But I don't know.
Quite a bit.
Oh God, grant me humility.
You know, one of the reasons why I concluded that World War II was infernally guided was the sheer bad luck which went into dropping an atomic bomb right on the civilian center of Nagasaki,
Mm-hmm.
which had been the center of Japanese Christendom since it was, well, the port where the Dutch were.
Well, I
we
did.
can- Oh,
Hello.
yeah, this is Emperor here, but I have heard of that theory, and yes, I agree with infernally guided, but I also believe it was actually men. They actually purposely did that, and you can say otherwise, but I've seen enough in the past few years to make me believe it's men.
I've gone into this before, but it was bad luck. Like, on the human part of things, it was just bad luck. Unless
I'd like
Truman
to
had
believe
unless
that. I'd like to believe that, but how much FDR was in bed with the communists, and then that somehow we leaked nuclear materials to the Russians.
yes,
Yeah.
all of that was quite deliberate, but the actual bombing of Nagasaki was bad luck. Unless Truman somehow had access to a weather machine which could cover the entirety of Japan in typhoons, except for Nagasaki on the day of the bomb.
And there's
It's
also
just bad luck.
the fact that it was a target in part because the geography sheltered it from the fire bombs.
Yeah.
I can buy that because I'm learning aeronautics right now and such, and planes even back then at high altitude. I could believe that.
Now, there's also the how it got on the target list that kind of goes back, back and
Wasn't-
forth.
Well, I know that it was a tertiary target, and the stated reason was it had a naval arm buoy.
Well, part of it is they kind of had the mysterious man in black pump, kind of kicking it up the list the night too. So
Yeah.
a lot of strange things around it. A lot where I think it's not necessarily intentional, but it's very easy to see the intentional arm too.
Yeah, but I've heard some of the rumors of how the
Gotcha.
DoD was set up in that same era, and then also the Pentagon. I'll leave it at that.
What?
Oh, what? It wasn't the DoD then.
I know, but how it was being set up and that the Pentagon was built in the way it was to all that time period just makes one wonder.
Okay, the game just totally gypped me there because I won. I landed the killing blow when it was 1-on-1, and then after the winning turn, they turned my summoner I've been working on since the beginning of the game into a treasure chest. So I just boxed out a robot mano a mano and won. You're really, Square? You're gonna pull this? Nah. That's a do-over. That's a mulligan. Anyway, continue.
Yeesh. The video game's even pulling shenanigans.
Well, they didn't fully have their coding game down, I guess. There are some glitches in this game. But, yeah.
No.
Illegal hit.
I also believe that the particular way Nagasaki wound up was just bad. Like there was plenty of other horrible stuff going on at the time, but that specifically was just bad luck. And also, the crew really not wanting to fly all the way back with a live atomic bomb in their hold. Like if you ever read The Fleet at Flood Tide by James D. Hornfisher, he's written several excellent histories of the Pacific War. There was genuine concern that the bomb would explode when they took off from the landing strip.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually had a specialist accompanying the aircraft to arm the bomb once it was in midair. which was itself a very delicate process.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow took one of the horrors of the atmosphere maybe going freaking lighting itself on fire because of nuclear fission and fusion. And Sky in the world in Sky Captain Tomorrow, it wasn't a nuke; it was the super rocket they were using that was taking the future Eden into space. Would ignite the atmosphere on fire, but it was basically homaging the potential of what the nukes could do, or thought to do.
Another reason why you should never trust scientists ever is that they basically fall into one of two categories. Either one, so we figure there's a 50-50 chance that an atomic bomb would light the atmosphere on fire. Let's test it anyway. Oh hey, we're still here. Alright, let's continue. That's type 1. Type 2 is, so we strapped a monkey to a chair and crushed its balls with a hammer, and it turns out this caused it a lot of pain, so then we skinned it alive and cut its hands off.
And these are the folks telling you that empathy is morality.
Making them the new priesthood was a mistake.
They're not even engineers. Engineers have limitations. They just do random shit.
Yeah.
What happens if I
There's a
throw this
reason
wrench
why
into the turbine?
Mad scientists who working on an experiment. Yeah. Mad scientist working on an experiment that goes out of control and destroys him and everyone nearby is a trope for a reason.
Something,
And
torment
the
nexus.
Personality type. too.
Yep.
Okay, not messing around now.
Oh boy.
Vampirism.
Yes, Chan, we were talking about I brought up the Spur Nagasaki theory, but Martel has a more of it was really bad luck.
I mean, look, the Freemasons aren't in control of everything.
Yeah, I never heard that theory though until after about 3 years of really coincidental bombings in the Middle East, where it always seemed that it was a Christian church getting bombed, and then after that, you know, after that, that's when I first started hearing the Nagasaki theories.
Yeah.
Working with the Middle East, 20
Well-
years of occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan, and there are no Christians left in either.
Well, I've also heard there was use of cruise missiles during the 90s in similar ways of just bombing random things like we were with drones, but with cruise missiles in the 90s, just random spots around the Middle East, and that was, the theory goes, was to foment what caused 9/11.
No.
And, sorry, should not have gotten this far.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm gonna put a stop to it. A lot of it's my fault, but
Yeah, I'm a little busy right now, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, on movies, I saw the Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage movie, The Man of Massive Talent.
oh, the biopic thing.
Yeah, the biopic thing. It was hilarious. Nicholas, it was a raging Cajun film, purposefully all the way about Nicolas Cage, and it actually had a little good just message in it, just about friends and just, I mean, it knew what it was the biggest thing, and that it just you've seen enough Nicolas Cage stuff that they played off of that really well, and just with his memes, and just it was just good. It was just good, hokey fun.
Yeah. It,
The most
actually,
part
oh,
of
go
the
ahead.
movie was in the end, of course, bad guys lose, but both the CIA, who had forced Nicolas Cage into doing something, and the drug lord that they sent him against, that was actually not who they thought it was, they both lose. It was like, yes, both sides lose.
Wait,
Wait.
is
Wait.
this like the Nicolas Cage version of like something like Bubba Hotep or something?
Uh, it's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage.
I thought that it
Literally.
was. I thought it was a biopic.
No. Well, maybe slightly, but it's it's a movie about Nicolas Cage being down on his luck as Nicolas Cage, and then all hilarity ensues after that little intro part of him being down on his luck.
Yeah, because I know he had financial problems.
Yeah, they're playing
For
a
a
lot off of. There's probably a lot of real stuff referenced in there, along with just Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage in a Nicolas Cage movie. But I really did like the subplot line of both the criminal guy and the freaking CIA both lose. It's like, well, that's one way to solve both problems.
You know, I might have to give it a look.
Yeah, the one that made threads of the plot line too is that they're also trying to make a movie. And they're going through and they do crazy stuff to figure out the plot of the movie. And it's really cool how it plays out, all that.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Sounds like something you really have to see to believe it.
Yeah, no. I was literally putting my hand in my face at one part of how just Nicolas Cage was being Nicolas Cage. It was just like, no, don't do it, don't. And then he does it. I go, no.
I like Nicolas Cage, just as an
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah, no. It was that or seen The Northman, but something about The Northman just fell off, and I've seen mixed things about it. I know it's rating well, but I don't know if I really want to see that type of film.
I'm planning on seeing it this weekend, so let you know what I think of it.
All right. I do give the Nicolas Cage as a man of massive talent a thumbs up.
All right then. Yeah.
Um,
Been thinking about art lately. And what the purpose of it is, the arete, if you will.
Mm.
And this group's already familiar with the high art, low art distinction. But
I think I've heard of that.
Refresher wouldn't be a mess.
the high low distinction.
Yep.
Mostly just that there is high art and low art. High art tends to be like, well, operas, symphonies, classical paintings, what have you. Low art is more common. Not that that's bad, just it's like the difference between a 5-star French chef preparing a meal and your mom's cooking.
I can get that.
Okay, then. That
But
was hard. Not gonna lie. We have a neat dragon
What?
statue now. It'll be fine.
Self-destruct.
Yep, took the Hero Yui way out. But now I got a cool new rock collection.
Ooh. You literally did do Hero New A.
Mm-hmm.
Follow up.
But I was thinking, because progressives like to say that the purpose of art is to shock and degrade, to bring you out of your comfort zone and raise consciousness. Which is why everything they make is ugly. It's quite a deliberate choice. Or at least it was. I think their capacity to appreciate beauty has atrophied to the point where they couldn't make something beautiful even if they wanted to. But I would say the purpose of high art is to uplift, inspire, and essentially form the mythos of a society, like the Aeneid was for Rome. And the purpose of low arts is just to entertain.
Agreed. And I would maintain that liberalism, in any society in which liberalism dominates, art itself, like high art, and eventually even low art, and even the concept of beauty must eventually die. Because when the whole organizing principle of your society is that the individual will is sovereign and the only absolute is the individual pursuit of personal preferences free of outside coercion, then the society inherently loses the ability to make aesthetic judgments on grounds of them being seen as external impositions on others' preferences. Like, in a nutshell, you can't have objectivity, but high art depends upon an objective definition of beauty.
I agree with your assessment of the outcome, though I might slightly differ on the reason.
Shoot.
Have you ever read Screwtape Proposes a Toast?
Yeah.
That, essentially. When progressivism, well, in the current state it is actually a descendant of American Protestantism, which fell into heresy. Essentially, they started with the proposition that all men are equal because we are made in the image of God. And then eventually it became all men are equal, period, in every possible respect. So they actually take it as offensive to imply that anyone is better in any way than another.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I maintain
Which-
that liberalism is a Christian heresy that is the direct mutant offspring of Protestantism. So, yes.
Yeah. Specifically, Methodism, Puritanism, and Unitarianism.
Yep. By the way, it looks like Beowulf is threatening to give our dragon cancer.
Right.
He can't get a break.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue, please.
Bummer. But that's why high and low arts, the distinction is abolished, and eventually you're just left with art below what we would consider low art. Because, well, to have high art means that something is better. Which nothing could be more intolerable to their viewpoints.
Yep. They're Procrustean, aren't they?
I believe Nietzsche would call it a politics of resentment.
I think we traded down here. I'm regretting this a little. I want my dragon.
You're talking about the game or the illusions?
Yes. Also, where's my dragon? The dragon I worked for? We fought, sweated, and blood. Oh, okay. Beta!
Is this one of the special characters, or is it one of the normal pets?
And then the special character. Beta Wolf. That's what I'm calling him now. Right, she better be good. I'm gonna hire her, but if he starts doing this whole the GM's fiance is playing stuff, she's gone. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
What odds do you give her, chat? You think the Holker and Curie principle will come into effect?
30-70.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
With this game, in favor or against?
The 30's in favor.
Okay.
You think I'm putting the 70? No.
Fair.
This is old square.
This is like intermediate
I
square.
was going to say... Yeah, I was going to say 50-50 because new square would have been 20-80 at best.
Okay, not even gonna point out all the things wrong with that, but okay. She might be able to transform.
Wait, what?
What? What about what?
All the things wrong with what?
Okay, well, if you insist. So... Okay, read that, then look at the character portrait.
Vishonen?
Read what? Dragoneer?
The description of it. Has human appearance, but is a dragon. The blood of the holy dragon running through him can work miracles. So we may have an issue. Beowulf may not just be a beta. And is a dragon the only thing it can transform into? Oh boy. Can of worms.
I get it.
Could be a translation thing.
It's certainly a translation thing. Whoops.
Doesn't really help the game, but it does mitigate things at least.
Right?
So,
I can think of some similar characters that around the same time. Doesn't help that I was reading Clam. But
Oh no.
Clamp. Long legs. Very
I'm not familiar
dark
with that one.
things.
I remember the video for X
I'm not familiar
1999
with this.
that I posted. They're an anime studio, like all female staff. Fun fact:
Oh dear.
the L should be an R. It was romanized as Clamp, either deliberately or not. And the reason for the name,
They like doing that.
yeah, the reason for the name is so they're an all-female animator team. Well, what happens when a group of all women live and work closely and exclusively together for an extended period? Besides, yeah, some synchronization going on. took some Midol and went out there and
there
made
are
some of the
entire
best.
weeks where nothing gets done.
Yeah. But again, then they went out there and made some of the best darn cartoons of the 80s and 90s.
Fair.
But okay. We're one step closer to getting Cloud.
I think you mean crowd.
Well, 3 is. Okay, this should be it. Yeah, sorry, couldn't resist. Judiciously and autistically saving. Let's go.
You know, it's been derided quite a lot, but I do appreciate modern games using autosave.
Oh yeah,
When
there's
it's certain games, yeah.
as much of a retro gamer as I am, there are contemporary gaming conventions which I think are just strictly better than the conventions that came out of the arcade era. Like having a limited number of lives, having limited continues, not being able to save anywhere. Like the whole point of all of those was just to keep you feeding quarters into a machine which no longer exists.
Yep. And personally, I'm the kind of guy who gets into a game, like, you know how it is, sucks you in. And nothing is worse than losing 8 hours of progress because you were just so intent on playing the game that you forgot to drop a save.
Yep.
I exaggerate slightly, but
No, it's one of the reasons why I think Dark Souls took off. Is as much frustrating as those games are, they actually make it purposeful that you can just come back and go again, take your souls from the, or runes or whatever, and just grab them and go back at the boss.
Jim Edverson of The Witcher.
and the most recent entry in the series, Elden Ring, actually improved on the formula by adding this thing called Stakes of America, which is basically a checkpoint which is only found outside certain boss areas, which are far away from the checkpoints. I'm just going to call them bonfires.
Yeah. They're
I'm-
called
it's-
sites of grace, but they're bonfires. They're literally
They're
bonfire.
I'm told
It's
that
Dark Souls. You rest at bonfires, you pay in souls, and your objective is to link the fire.
It's hilarious that it's just like someone called, I don't know which streamer, it's Dark Souls 4.
I'm
is.
told that it's
Yeah.
one of the best versions of, like, it's the idealized video game version of like old red box D&D. It's got that kind of vibe.
It's very RPG. Like, there's a lot of games that claim to be RPG, but Dark Souls, from what little I've tested, but also what I have played at Elden Ring, is it's got RPG elements left and right. Like, you have to build for certain things. You have to swap out things. You just can't do everything. You have to, like, are you doing your sword, like, regular longsword build? Are you doing a magic build? You got to swap out your items and your armor. You can go light armor, I whack things as a wretch only with a loincloth, or I'm fully heavy loaded and I got all my weapons I'm swapping out and batting you down with each weapon I have.
Yep. Now, I have a lot of problems with the game, all of which boils down to the difference between difficulty and PS difficulty. But unlike previous games, pretty much any build is viable. if you're decent at it. Like previous games, I think Dark Souls 2, never actually play it by here, that basically unless you went high dex build, you were screwed. Dark Souls, it was... No, Dark Souls 3, it was high dex, rapid attack, and that was the only way to play it. Elden Ring,
You can be a wretch with a stick and whack everything if you're that machoist.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if
Yeah.
the mime earns his keep.
really just do whatever you want.
That's good. I mean, more than one path. I do hate to be railroaded into builds.
One thing a lot of people, one thing I picked up on from the stuff when I started playing is don't go for the obvious boss. The obvious boss is going to whack you hard.
The obvious boss is an object lesson in why exploration and farming is good in this game.
Yes.
But no, it's actually quite good, and for anyone who's concerned about George R. being good as the writer, I'm pretty sure that they did that thing where they have the big name writer, and he provides the outline and lays out the big picture stuff, and then they have actual writers to do the rest. Because this game, the story to this game is complete and has an ending.
Right. How should I put this? It's like Game of Thrones when it had an outline, except they're able to get him to finish the outline because they told him he didn't have to write anything. Just give us the world and all the shenanigans, and we'll finish the rest.
I thought I read a interview where he said he really didn't do that much for it at all.
That would not surprise me in the slightest.
What they probably did is just got him to really just, since they know what they do typically, and just say, hey, this is the setting and stuff, what do you think crazy stuff? And he just starts doing all this, and they just take his ideas, and probably they just had him as idea guy, and truthfully for him, at this point in his life and career, that's probably the best way to use him, just have him give you a ton of ideas and then run with them.
Yeah, and Dark Souls is not, and has never been, a story game. But all of the story can be found by reading the flavor text on 4 or 5 key items.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Elden
where it
Ring
is.
is the same, really. You're going to have no idea what's going on unless you really look for it.
Yeah. But that rewards exploration for those people who want to do that.
Yeah, and if
or
you're the
watch
kind of
YouTube
guy...
videos.
Yeah, there is no subject so insipid that someone hasn't made a 5-hour YouTube series on the class warfare implications of Wolfenstein 3D Vice Doom 1990. Guarantee you someone's done it.
Yep.
Mhm.
It doesn't surprise me. I ran across a video this week that was 4 hours on why Chuck Wendig's Star Wars Aftermath deserved the trash compactor. I could have read the entire book before finishing the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that keeps popping up in the YouTube recommendations, like spend long enough in the rabbit hole and it'll show up, is how democracy dies, the politics of Star Wars. And I think it's something like an hour and 20 minutes.
I think I aggressively blocked that one. So.
Yes. And good news, though, the next FromSoft game, which is probably Dark Souls 5, they've got Mr. I have too much money because I offered books up, Brandon Sanderson, as I think lined up as the guy to do the similar J.R. Martin thing, though they probably will let him do more.
I heard that he was doing a video game, or working on a video game deal.
I think I heard it was FromSoft. They might be someone else.
I'd have to look it up, but I do recall seeing it. At the same time, y'all have to remember Orson Scott Card got a couple video game deals, and because big name, big writer, and those went nowhere. Scalzi got one, and that went nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, can't even remember him. Just because
Yeah,
you're
but-
good at one medium doesn't mean it translates.
But none of them had just done a $30 million Kickstarter.
Right.
Oh, Mr. Walker in the chat says that Elden Ring is actually Demon Souls 6.
Oh yeah, that's true. Demon Souls was the original thing.
But do we count Bloodborne as a Demon Souls entry? 'Cause
Yes. Sorry.
It really was funded by Sony. You could say it was. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. I guess we're done with that.
No, go ahead. I didn't let you finish the question.
I mean, no, just because it is very much a Dark Souls feel to the game, but
It's just a Victorian Dark Souls with more aggressive combat and a bunch of whips.
I was going to say, is mechanically Bloodborne distinct enough to qualify as its own thing? Like, same genus, different species? Or
From what I understood at the time, the vibes I got from people, and I did play a little bit of it, it was harder in its aggression, but it wasn't like Sekiro. Sekiro basically threw the rulebook of Dark Souls out and said, learn to parry or you die, and you must be fast.
Yeah, Sekiro, by the way, also an excellent game, and holds the record for the FromSoft boss I have spent the most time slamming my head into to no avail.
Yeah.
65 or so for Sword Saint Ishin.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I've done that with mini bosses in other games.
Yeah. Although in the case of Sekiro, like you said, that game was all about parrying, and I just
Okay.
never got it.
Here we go.
I think that's why people like Elden Ring, is it took stuff from Sekiro. Oh,
Yeah, this is
wait.
it. I think this should be it. I should have done everything right.
what is the next thing we're doing?
You'll see. Pay attention.
Okay.
Yeah, watch and learn. Well, that's an odd thing to say. Hey, cool orrery, but can it morph?
Hmm.
Big Power Rangers fan? I don't know.
I think the Discord stream is actually being fed through the YouTube stream, so we're still in delay.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, now it's it.
There it is again with the quotes.
Yep, you're right again. That's my boomer tag. Hold on. There you are.
Alright.
There we are. Here's someone come.
Wow, is that a graphics bug?
No, it was shaking.
I'm seeing a lot of lines on the. And yeah,
Yes! We brought him through. The old Cloud in his super deformed majesty. Complete with spiky hair and hammer pants.
Huh. So that's what he looks like in this game style.
Yep. So, I think they're hinting that...
Play on the main screen. That's
Yeah.
quite a shenanigan there.
Yeah, I think they're tying this in to FF7 continuity by saying that he got sucked to Evilise after he fell into the live stream.
okay, so this means 7, 10, 12, and tactics are all linked now?
Ooh, how does 10 factor in?
Something with the Shinra. I don't know if it's in the past or the future, or the future, but it's a nearby world.
Okay, interesting. Then yeah, they would be. Also, Vagrant Story. Because this Vagrant Story 12 and Tactics Advance will take place in Evilise. I love how they're just critiquing Cloud's wardrobe.
And there he is.
That's it. Okay, according to Bradford Walker, 7, 12 Tactics, Vagrant Story, and 14 are all connected. And chances it's a stretch, though.
Oh.
Okay, word on the street is X is the far-flung future of 7. Okay.
Really? So X and X2 are...
We don't speak of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
He said the unholy words.
Okay. Is that the interpretation of what hen is, since I won't say that word?
What are people's feelings on X-Triple?
On what?
Yeah, I don't think we quite caught that.
13.
Oh.
X-Triple.
Oh. Never played it.
I think they tried forcing it. There's some interesting things, interesting mechanics. I kind of liked a couple of the side characters, and then there's a few of them I'd shuffle out in airlock.
You know, yeah, I actually feel about that way for 13 proper. 13-2, I actually kind of like the story of that one. Just because of the time travel shenanigans stuff.
And he's gone.
Lightning's Return was irredeemable.
I just didn't like with 12 and 13 where they tried to make it a action MMO. So sometimes the mechanics, I like the turn-based on. I like the turn-based on 10. Obviously, the classic ones before that, but I didn't necessarily need to be running around like it was a cheap copy of WoW.
Wow. That thing. They, so you know how World of Warcraft has been doing the WoW Classic, WoW BC, and now they're doing WoW Wrath of the Lich King?
Yep.
They released a trailer for it recently, and someone summed it up best, contrasting the old Arthas, My Son's cinematic, and the new one. They marvel it. They marvel-fied it. But
yeah, well, Blizzard's been dead for a while, so it's just the corpse twitching.
Yeah, no, the MMO I think is going to be what's going to kill probably Blizzard is not FF14. FF14 is gained a huge following and shaved off a bunch of stuff, but what I'm very suspicious is going to be the killing blow to World of Warcraft and then Blizzard, and then all the IPs will be divvied up among Microsoft's mini empires, is going to be Riot Games. Riot Games has been siphoning off almost all the top talent from Blizzard for almost a decade now.
the problem really with World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 is that World of Warcraft especially is very much a product of its time in gameplay mechanics, which it was fine enough back in the day, but these days, after 13 plus years of technological and technical advances, it's really showing its age.
I'd say that for Classic. I think what ended up happening with retail is it drowned under gimmicks. So here's the new gimmick for the patch, and now we've got a new patch, so we're going to put a new gimmick that's completely and utterly temporary and has to be theory crafted and to maintain your place on the in the pecking order. But ultimately, completely worthless and doesn't have an effect in game or in the future. It's just, hey, it's like you're given you're given the quest in equivalency to find Excalibur, power it up, get the various blessings, use it, okay, and now we got to leave it, and as we move on to the next supercharged gimmick.
Yeah, that certainly didn't help first.
Yeah.
But I'm just, in terms of the core gameplay, like tab targeting, action bars, that stuff, it is very much a product of its time.
Ironically, FF14 still has that, but I'm guessing it's modernized a lot since it was developed way later, and, well, the guys running at least that part of Square seem to be allowed to do what they want, and so they actually keep things good.
It's amazing what you can do if you resurrect the dead.
Yeah, they modernized it a bit, and they also stole from a lot of MMOs that had preceded it and failed, and I say that as a compliment, by the way. Just little quality of life stuff.
I've been amazed at how much money has been poured down making an MMO. Just the amount of capital I've heard of being poured down just an endless hole just trying to make a WoW killer or Korean games trying to make their own thing. It's just the amount of money, amount of games I've heard about. Like, I'm not an MMO player. Only one or two games I'll ever do are MMO lights, but they're not out, or I just don't want to, or in the case of FF14, I know it's basically a super good, long Final Fantasy game, but no. Or if I do, I'm dropping all other gaming and then just getting the campaign done and then noping out. But
it's certainly not a cheap proposition to maintain an MMO.
Yeah, it's just it's like Battle Royale, but Battle Royales actually were cheaper to make than, from what I understand, MMOs are just, well, they're not cheaper. In many ways, they're similar. You got to have enough server architecture to have all the Battle Royales running and then have people who early get back in.
With Battle Royales, at least you can have separate instanced servers, whereas MMOs, you need both separate instance servers for the dungeons and the battlegrounds, and full-on persistent open world.
Well, and to be honest, what's scratching a lot of the same itch for a lot of people are the Mo bitches, or the gacha games.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. It's the same treadmill, and you don't have to do quite as much, and especially when you're doing the inevitable dailies. Thank you very much, TBC. That it's kind of press a couple buttons, walk away, come back type of stuff. But yeah, I mean the same addiction type, the same. when Blizzard started not making games but making Skinner boxes and things for things to prolong addiction as opposed to making a game, I think they really lost their way.
One of the best things to come out of GameGate was that proposal to regulate games the same way we do casinos. Oh, that caused some screaming.
It should have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's slowly happening. Like, I don't know when. I'm still amazed. Like countries like China barely are able to crack down on that. It's like, geez, even in Victoria, your land of the CCP, you can't quite stop the mobile crack addiction of gacha games.
They don't, but they sure rein in several of the excesses. So
Yeah, but that they can barely rein into just excesses is just, that's how much it makes too much money to stop, and it's just kind of like almost effectively drugs or alcohol, and how much you just can't stop it, but you got to at least stop it somehow.
I'm not sure why, but it seems like gacha games really took off in the Oriental countries.
Mobile. That's the summation. Technology leaps. So like, we still think a lot of things because of we went from telegrams to phone lines to then internet being built off of phone lines. A lot of Asia did catch up by the time we had high-end computing hitting the 90s, but in many ways how much of Asia, particularly China, was really coming up in the 2000s. Mobile technology was basically the equivalent of being there as the baseline technology. So that's your baseline technology of a high-end phone. You're not going to think of, like we do, well, why you're not doing this? They didn't have that. They had phones. Phones are really good and they're relatively cheap. So how do you play off of that market?
yeah, they were ahead of us in many respects on cellular technology.
Yeah. I mean, that's why console gaming is actually probably dead in a long-term sense, because it only came up in areas that already had a long history of other technologies, but a good chunk of the developed or now fully developed world leapfrogged past all that to high-end self-viewer technology. And with Starlink coming online, you probably will see areas that never understood what cell phone signals were, because they'll have a Starlink SIM card in their cell phone, and what is not having service besides very bad weather.
A bit more than that, but okay.
Yeah, yes, I know your expertise and such, but the rumors is we're going to have regular smartphones having that soon, of at least satellite capable connections.
Yet again, smartphones ruin everything.
Yeah, we already do. The catch is with Starlink is that actually will free up a lot, or that bandwidth available, because you can push quite a bit of bandwidth if you've got 1,000 birds all talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think I said the last time, is the rumor is the main push for why he wants Twitter is to make it a SMS system on steroids for Starlink.
Yep. And I, for one, couldn't care less.
Yeah, yes.
I know some people are saying...
Those who were there know it is related.
Yeah, well, hold on. Because I want a chance to give a rejoinder to what was said last time. Because if you notice that any time a potentially positive development happens in the culture war, there's always a brigade of black pillars on our side who can't wait to explain why, no, it's actually a bad thing. Whether it's National Review or just, like, I don't know, some Curtis Yarvin types on Gab. Just, no. No, Elon Musk buying Twitter is good. Like, it can't be worse than what we have now.
Well, the funny thing is, you mentioning Curtis Yarvin, the guy whose whole shtick is explaining why nothing we do matters.
Mm-hmm.
He actually said that Musk buying Twitter would be a significant victory.
A significant what?
Victory. Like,
Well,
he
good.
said that if Elon Musk pulls this off, it is unapologetic, like, objectively a win.
Well, good. Yeah, note that I didn't name him in person, but, like, his imitators. But, no, that's good. If even he agrees...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an improvement. And yes, like, he might turn it into some sort of space laser guidance system. I don't care. Because all we need is to, like, free the Groypers. Get Ricky Vaughn back on Twitter. Get Trump back on Twitter. Get everyone who was banned back on Twitter. And just relax the censorship. Heck, just make what the actual censorship rules are known. Just post them in black and white, like, hey, you can say what you want, except none of this, and none of that. Okay, we can work around that. And within 6 weeks, we will take it back. That is why the enemy is
Personally,
terrified of losing it.
Well, there's just a lot of things, a lot of places where they're reeling right now. I mean, CNN Plus was a huge black eye. The Today's News in Florida was is one too. It just seems like all the major pillars of the media are getting rattled right now, with the exception of Google, but, which I keep hoping gets a little bit of a shakeup.
Yeah, well, Google can be knocked down with antitrust because being the only ad platform when it used to be totally decentralized, that's eventually going to get you standard and oiled.
Hmm. And I suppose I should have asked in my haste, and Brad, do you think that Musk using Twitter as SMS for Starlink is a positive development, or negative, or neutral?
It depends on the opinion of Musk. My only counter evidence is the potential horrors of his Neuralink project might wreck on everyone, and then that's something he's involved with.
Well, he did mention that he wants to get rid of the bots, but he also wants to, for lack of a better term, verify all the human users. So there's a lot of
Yes, I have heard that
Yeah.
basically the anonymous shenanigans we love and enjoy, and if anyone is an image board fanatic, during the Gamergate era, basically a huge chunk of what was old people, and I was not a chain or image board user, but I came with a lot of people from them that decided to invade Twitter, and now they've essentially been there in various forms since that time.
Okay, but that's coming
I've
anyway,
seen
man.
many
Like,
people through the
yeah, even Medicare's pointed out, like, Real ID is coming. I would rather have Elon Musk in charge of Real ID than Jeff Bezos or Tim Cook. Like, we can't make the perfect enemy the good. Sorry, go ahead.
Actually, so I've heard from, there's a guy called Andrew Tate. He's a very much interesting character, former kickboxer, made a lot of money with webcam girls and such. But he actually said the only way to make it in the future He's smart. His father was a CIA agent and
Oh.
a very high level chess player. But he said he can't. You cannot get away. You cannot hide from the system. But you can get yourself on multiple systems, so you always have some system to be on. So yeah, they revoke your U.S. passport, but you got the Elon Real ID passport or whatever else passport.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're going to have to choose one of the real IDs. But it might be good to be on multiple of the real IDs instead of just one that will revoke you and screw you.
Is this the guy that just got arrested last week?
I want to tell you that's once again the media telling you the whole truth. He was arrested, but that was actually because one of the girls he had's boyfriend, put simply, was jealous of him, and so he used certain things that the US government doesn't quite like him, but he lives in Europe, and tried to use that against him. But to put the short story, to make a long story short, the guy who caused that arrest basically is now getting hunted down by the cops because he has lots of connections in Romania, where he is at the current point, and has enough money to maintain those connections. So, yeah, it's don't believe the media, even about people about him like him. It's just they're not telling the whole story.
In fact, anytime you see a news story in any mainstream outlet,
I'm not.
just assume that everything they're reporting is the exact opposite of the truth, and you'll be close to the actual truth.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying buy his snake oil, Andrew Tays and his brother, but I've heard enough stuff from them, and I do believe one thing about being multiple systems is legit, because they have enough health, and he tells enough real stuff between his shit and for his stuff that, yeah, you're going to be on some system. So, and I'm working on trying to get a passport to their place. I'm not sure everyone can, but having just multiple systems you're in is probably the only way, since we're seeing bifurcation right now of the Western system to the BRIC system. And it wouldn't be surprising with some people like Elon Musk and others are making the elite coalition system too. So
Yeah.
maybe having the ability to go to any of them is a good idea.
No, I concur with that.
So yeah. So, but to answer your question, I've heard weird things that Elon. There's a book, written by von Braun, that has a reference to an Elon on Mars ruling. One of the more out there theories, but I've been around the horn enough at this point that I don't know, and I don't like that these coincidences keep happening.
Well, I don't know if it was Yarvin, but it was like some of those like NRX guys back in the day who did like name him as a candidate for the Philosopher King who could pull us out of this. So, take it for what it's worth. But yeah, Martell, you
Personally, I rather like Elon.
I think at this point he's probably there's the richer people out there, but he's the most visible rich person, and I think he's the front man at this point for people like Peter Thiel's another person in similar camp to him,
Yeah.
and probably other shadow people that we don't know how rich they are, but I think they'll back him. Like, he has a lot of money that's coming from somewhere that keeps backing him, and I think those people, I mean,
well, word around the campfire is that
there
he's a
is
secret Bitcoin
even
whale.
though there is, he probably is.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But, like, say whatever else you will about Elon, all of everything that he's done has seemed to be for one purpose, and that is humanity on Mars. Like Tesla, battery experimentation.
Yep.
For non-hydrocarbon planets. SpaceX, well, obviously.
Mm.
The Boring Company.
Underground.
Yep.
You get all
And
the technologies set up, and then you don't have to worry about dust storms and all that between the hubs.
Essentially, he's a 2000s science fiction protagonist.
Much like one written by, say, a sci-fi novel by the guy who put us on the moon.
Yep.
And someone pointed out that actually the Boring Company's drill machine that they were pioneering was just the right size to fit inside one of those heavy boosters that SpaceX was testing at the time.
Coincidence? I think not.
No, the biggest play is going to be is if raw resources are going to be the main play here. So like, yeah, we can get stuff into space. He's lowered the cost with the Falcon X, I think, just getting some to space. But what we need is something in a range point 2 or 1, either near the moon or in the between Earth and Moon position that just is an asteroid that you can just mine and just start building the fleet that you need to get there. Because that's what you need up there is raw resources to just get going.
Well, if Elon ever starts talking about putting a space station in, that he's really serious. Not that I think that he's not, but
he's partnering with it. SpaceX is kind of staying out of that, and letting other people develop the stations.
fair.
Yeah, and truthfully, right now he's just building the backbone stuff. Like, yeah, this stuff theoretically can all go to Mars, but truthfully, you're going to need to build ships in space, in Lagrange point orbit or higher orbit, that then go out and do whatever you need to, and then pull stuff back in.
Okay.
The other thing.
Have you seen the Artemis architecture?
I haven't.
So yeah, instead of an Apollo, you're basically going to have a transit to a moon station, and probably like lunar version of L1, and basically they're going to be shuttling from that station to the moon and back. So he's actually providing the lander for that with his Starship. And then there's fuel, there's fuel stations that have to be set up. So it's, Artemis, if it ever gets off the ground, because NASA's having some problems with their side of it, is going to put a lot of orbital infrastructure into place, and then you can always expand off of that into various outside of the extra orbital efforts like the asteroids and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I have a proposition for the board here. So I was flying. I'm doing some flight training for reference anyone here, and just the point of view change that you just have up there is kind of amazing. But we've heard from the astronauts how their point of view changes about everything down here. I'm wondering. I'm just passively wondering. Maybe it won't be a permanent point of view, but maybe if there's just enough people up in space and they have influence down to Earth, that there might be that little grace golden period to just get enough out to space, so at least the crazy Elon can get to Mars and infrastructure to the point that no matter what happens on this planet, things won't be totally hosed. Because I keep hearing that by anyone and a lot of stuff. Even flying, I can see how that perspective of just being up there, you're like going, why are we up? I don't know. I'm not sure. I know humans are depraved and despicable creatures with stuff in their mind. I remember the exact person I'm paraphrasing here, but you keep hearing about anyone who goes to space that they just don't think the same. Oh,
Well, all of the best estimates I've seen are that this is kind of our one shot for preserving a technological society, because we've used up all of the easy to get resources on the Earth's crust. So that not do another dark age this time around. It's gonna be a lot longer before we can get out of it.
And on that note,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna point out here that I'm gonna push pause on the game for tonight because I looked it up, and the guy I was following to get Cloud neglected to mention that, oh yeah, before you did all this, you really should have gone to Limberry Castle and completed that first. So now we got to get all the way down to that last orange dot on there and like complete a couple boss rushes, and that's going to be really involved, like at least one whole episode. So I might do like those first two orange dots, which are just standard encounters, and come back on Tuesday to continue the getting of Cloud. So at this point, just gonna skim back through the chat, see if I missed anything. Bayou Bomber says,
Sounds like a plan.
okay. Bayou Bomber says, good evening all. Good evening. Sorry I missed that earlier. Bradford Walker says, Tate's position works if you have the money to back it up. For plebes, you can't claim citizenship via blood ties, place of birth. You're not going to be in more than one real ID system. I'm not convinced of that based on certain developments occurring elsewhere, but we'll get to that in a minute. He continues, Elon won't be the savior of the West. He can be the man that allows many in the West to save themselves and their households. Agree with that. And also, to piggyback off of it, I'm more and more convinced that the savior of the West is currently residing, or may soon reside, in the East. We'll see about that. Chan, Elon may be the Julius to the Augustus that is yet to come. Possibly that's if you use the fall of Rome model for what's going on now. I think that the Athenian model, like with Solon, is a, and Pisistratos is a better example, but Data Potato. Oh yeah, and shout out to Fiona Wolf.
Yeah. I was thinking, I think as much as Americans have talked about being Rome, the fall of Rome, and all that, it just doesn't match up. We surge so fast comparatively, and you can't just blame the culture. So that is just not quite the same, and how our empire operated wasn't Roman and all that other stuff.
Better parallel is the Athenian Empire.
Yeah.
About 20 years before the Peloponnesian War.
Yeah, because again, we're an empire that steadfastly denies it's an empire.
Unquote, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the Athenians did from my.
At least the Athenians admitted they were an empire. In fact, the common refrain was, let's not quibble about how we got an empire. The fact of the matter is we have got one. But yeah, they didn't formally rule over their subjects. They had allies, which paid tribute in soldiers, or more often in the later phase, money.
Yeah, they controlled the coinage.
Show that part.
Because they had the mint on Delios.
Oh yeah, we do have that part. We do have that part.
For now. That's.
Yeah, and one of the greatest allies just flipped to the Ramambi, also known as the Wand. So we.
Ooh. Hey, getting interesting. But anyway, before we get into more stuff that Daddy Warpig would throttle me over, I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stop it there. But thanks to everybody for joining me, including my panelists and everyone in the live chat. How about that? We got through one consistent week, starting on time every night. We're batting 1,000 here. We're back. We'll be back next week, looking at Tuesday at the same time, 9 Central. Until then, make sure to like this episode, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon. Check out Daddy Warpig's regular Saturday show on this same channel. And for Geek Gab, I've been your host, Brian. And my panel tonight has been
Emperor.
Martel.
And the Pulp Archivist.
wishing you a pleasant evening, a good early weekend, and remember, games are better in retrospective.